Welcome to After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, featuring Cara Delane and Ted Ings. This episode is brought to you by BG Products, partners beyond products. And now for your hosts, Ted Ings and Cara Delane.
Welcome to After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, everyone. And Ted, I am really excited for tonight's conversation with Affinitive.
I think it's going to be a great one. I already see a lot of comments rolling in. So, Cara, this is exciting tonight. We have the team from Affinitive. Jeff Bogaski, Michelle Blakely is here. Jeff Jackson is here, joined by our special featured guest, Sean Kingery, coming to us tonight. Chad, good evening. I know you know Sean Kingery as well. So, Cara, that means we're going to be live tonight, right?
We are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And I think some of our guests tonight have their social medias hooked up. So I'm sure we're live on a lot of different platforms and a lot of different people's pages. So hopefully everyone's sharing the video and commenting down below.
All right. Should be a great show. And Cara, in addition to Affinitive being, all over the Fixed Ops Roundtable, I want to thank BG Products as well, right? Because they got a lot on the go. I see you've been doing a couple promos for BG as well.
Yes, anytime I can squeeze in something about BG Products, I'm going to do it because we are super grateful to everything they do for the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And they're getting more and more involved with us, Ted, so I'm excited.
Yeah, there's Bob Tasca. He is going to be on day one of the event along with Affinitive as well. And just learned today officially that Bob Tasca will be with us for a pop-up event this summer. So excited about that, Cara, and hope that you bring your driver's license as well.
Yep. I don't know if that was a good idea on his behalf, but there might be some interesting things happening when I see Bob Tasca that require my driver's license.
Yep. All right. So it looks like a lot of fun. All right. So real quick, before we get to the panel tonight, this is going to be a great discussion. Tony Owens, good evening. Cara, tell us what's coming up next week and the following week. Give us a little bit of a preview.
Yeah, the next 2 weeks are going to be crazy, but a whole lot of fun. So next week, we will be at our first ever pop-up event at Bozard Ford Lincoln, and it's going to be amazing. Ted and I are going to be there in person at the Ford location, and we're going to talk about everything Bozard, talk to a lot of women, all of their mobile service operation. It's going to be tons of fun. And then the following week, of course, we have our Fixed Ops Roundtable back to the 80s event. So the tickets are complimentary, so if you haven't got yours yet, you can get it after the show at fixedopsroundtable.com.
Yep, a lot of folks have been asking how they get those tickets. Fixedopsroundtable.com. Carvey Parker, good evening from Texas as well. And Cara, the pop-up next week, that's going to be broadcast on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. Is that right? Yeah,
it's going to be similar to how you're seeing us now. We're going to be on all of our social media platforms, streaming live from Bozard. So don't worry if you can't make it to St. Augustine, because we're going to be live on social media, so you can tune in for that for about 2 hours.
Yep, and there's going to be a lot of great things, including a tour of the shop with Ed Roberts, I'm hearing, and we're going to meet a lot of his folks. And like you said, the women of Bozard, the two-person teams they've got going, just a whole lot going on. So Cindy Reynolds, good evening to you. So, all right, Cara, so you recently set up a panel with Affinitive that's going to be on day one of the big Fixed Ops Roundtable on Monday, the 15th of May. And take us through it, because you got all the players here tonight with you.
I know. And I have to say, Ted, I think that the Affinitive panel with all of these wonderful people was definitely one of my favorite ones that I've done in my entirety of being with the Fixed Ops Roundtable, because it was something that I'm very passionate about, and that was the topic of our conversation. And it was all about communication and advertising and marketing and social media and everything that Affinitive does. So I'm glad you guys are back with us tonight.
Excited to be back. Thank you.
All right,
so I have to ask, for anybody that's watching us tonight, Mr. Bogaski, give them a rundown of a little bit about what Affinitive does, just so we can keep everybody up to speed before we jump into this.
Sure. Well, thanks for having us again. Full service, front to back end. But when I tell the team, we have a team of salespeople across the United States, listen to your dealership, your dealer, your audience, and help them when they need help. And that's the most important thing when we go out and talk to dealers. But more importantly, we have all the product suites to help in any different area. service technology products. We're here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We have all that. Recently launched tech video. We have texting. We're going to do more with that texting in this platform coming up as well. If you're looking to attract people through social media, we have an ad agency that can do that. We're actually piloting a program for an OEM right now that's going out in social media and targeting customers for parts and accessories and all that as well. But we also have CRM systems. Car Research has been around for more than a decade. It's called XRM today, but that not only helps the front end, it also helps the back end of the dealership as well. So we have an array of different product suites that will help the front end, the back end. But again, like I said, I ask the team that I have with me, always ask the dealer where their needs and concerns are and let's address those first.
Wow. It's impressive. And Michelle, what do you do specifically with Affinitive?
Yeah, thanks for having us again, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. So I'm new to the Affinitive team. I run our VP of OEM operations. So working with our OEMs on their strategy to help implement at the dealer level.
Wow. Definitely needed. And the other Jeff tonight, what about you?
Yeah, I'm director of sales for the Southeast. So I have a team of 7 sales individuals that cover Florida, all the way up into Ohio and into the Carolinas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. So the Southeast region.
Very cool. And what do you think, I guess, is the most important aspect of what you guys do and what you're seeing that the dealer world needs in today's market?
Well, I think what's really important in what we do is, when I talk to dealers across the Southeast, they see where they want to go. They see how they interact with products, and they see how, today's youth are interacting with product, and that's the up and coming, customer base for them. And they see that, and they want to get there, and they don't know how, or they're fragmented, or they don't know how to connect those dots. And really, with Affinitive, no matter what that is that they're looking for, we can put those pieces together and show the dealer what it looks like to get there and help them get there.
Absolutely. And Sean, being in a dealership, what do you think that is something that you could bring to your dealerships that would help boost kind of the advertising and maybe connect with that younger audience Jeff was just talking about?
Well, it's funny because I've had probably a good 10, 12-year relationship with Affinitive, and we talk about that during the panel with Terry and Wayne and such, and Jeff, the other Jeff, as you call him. The other Jeff and I have a long-term relationship in a previous life of his as well. And again, as we talk about in the panel, in fixed operations, guys, we're not marketing people. We don't know what we don't know. And Kara brings up, and I won't spoil it unless she does, Kara brings up some things during the panel that are very, very pointed to the generation that she is. What Affinitive brings to the table is a cradle-to-grave solution that us as fixed ops people, we don't know. Again, we don't know. We don't know marketing. We're still in the snail mail age where that's all we knew how to advertise. Social media and all that stuff, that's not our specialty. That's not what we do.
Absolutely. And Mr. Bogaski, I've gotten to know your daughter a little bit, and she's
Yeah.
15 years old now?
She's 15, Vivian, yes.
And what has she taught you about the younger generation coming up and how we need to shift gears in the automotive industry?
Well, Ted and I started speaking about this a few months ago. That's how this panel got started. She's had a phone for 5 years, probably too young to get one originally. Never set up voicemail. Still today doesn't understand the need for it. When she doesn't shop like we talked about on Sears and Roebuck's catalog, she shops through people that are talking about products, right? That are out there positioning products based on social marketing and engineering out there. They operate so differently, like the catalogs and the phone books don't make sense. One time my son and daughter went with me on a trip, and they got in the car and they said, "We can't roll the windows down." Well, it was a cheap car and it had crank, but they had never been in a crank. So I think that parlays into what we're talking about here. It's about, how I grew up, Ted and I grew up with direct mail. And I think direct mail always will have a place. And but we have to be able to track those audiences. And this panel that we're going to get more in depth on in a week and a half, whatever it is, we're representing 20s all the way up into the 60s. All those generations are represented, but we're talking about Kara's generation and then even after that, which my daughter at 15, and how they're going to want to be communicated with is very, very, very differently. So dealers have to start thinking about that today to prepare for tomorrow, because tomorrow's coming quickly. We saw what happened with COVID. It pushed the industry forward, in my opinion, 5 to 10 years. And I think that now with social media and the way it's handled and used, we're going to continue to see, jumps, leaps and bounds over the next couple of years as well.
Absolutely. And I think, and Michelle might can touch on this a little bit about the fear that some people have when implementing social media and trying to target such young people because they are our next buyers. Michelle, what do you think our industry is thinking right now of, oh my gosh, we're going to advertise on social media. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. Talk about the legality maybe of everything behind that.
Yeah, it's a scary topic right now, social in general. And before I jump into it, I do just have to laugh because every time I think about the 15-year-olds, the 6-year-old, I have a 6-year-old daughter, I forget that I'm actually still early into some of those times too. I remember before a flip phone, right? I remember talking on a phone with a cord, but it was so early in my life that it's just been what I naturally remember. And so things have come a long way, right? I grew up with MySpace and AOL chat, and things have changed a lot over the time. But I think that as someone who's grew up in this industry, we forget that this stuff isn't new. It's just changed, right? It's not new. It's just evolved. And as Jeff said, it has vastly advanced in the last couple of years due to the pandemic. And there is new regulations coming about that's been in the conversation. And of course, I'm not a lawyer, but I follow it very closely that, there's fear out there as it comes to what will the US do with things like TikTok? And if anybody's following the newest social media out there, Eliminate, which is actually owned by the same owners of TikTok, right? There's going to be fear that coming down the road, that will also be taken away. And so it is a really good source, but I think a lot of people think it's going to go away, just like, the internet was supposed to go away 25 years ago. And although I don't have a crystal ball, my Blakely prediction, as I call it, is that it's not going to go away. We need to be prepared for it. And we just need to know how to learn from it and apply it to the next big platform that's coming around, because it's not going to go away. We just need to embrace it. And the faster we embrace it, the faster we'll be able to, create credibility in those platforms and between the dealership and the customer.
Absolutely. And I think you're right, so many different new platforms popping up. You talked about Lemonade, we have Clapper. There's always going to be something new popping up in the social space that, it's our jobs to keep up with those trends and try to adapt and learn and jump into that next generation of what marketing and advertising look like to educate our consumers and retain them as well. And why do you think that? Because when I got into automotive, I looked at it, from an aerial view, and I thought this industry is so far behind. And maybe Sean or Jeff Jackson can touch on this as well. Why do you guys think that dealerships in particular are kind of scared of going towards social media, or maybe thinking that it's not going to work?
Sean, if you want to go ahead and take it, and I might add a little to it after.
Yeah, I'll start to it. Is Kara, I watched your post today where you're in Bob Task's, say you have the need for speed. Kara, that's not our comfort zone. I'm not that guy to do it. I love Jeff to death, but I guarantee Jeff's not that guy. We're not going to put the tights on the leg warmers and jump on stage. And I'm not here to talk about all your posts, but we can't do that. That's not something we're comfortable with. We weren't raised in it. It didn't exist back in our existing day. I was 20 years ago. There was no social media. There was no TikTok. There was no video footage. We certainly weren't, videoing 23-point inspections. We certainly weren't jumping in front of the camera and posting them on social media. It's just we're not comfortable with it. And quite frankly, it's just not in our wheelhouse to do it.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think, anytime you've got a new technology that comes out, if you look when online appointments started coming out and we were pushing dealers to make appointments online. Whoa, hang on, my capacity, and it was scary, and it's something that we've faced for a while, and I think it's really because at the root of most people in the dealership, myself included, you're a car guy or a car gal, or parts, or service, or it's not digital marketing. I certainly don't know that, or communications. That's not it's not the forte, and I think it's important. But I do want to mention, Sean's reference here to the 80s with the Star Wars in the background, and I just remembered, if you look up over, it's backwards. That is old Rob the robot from Nintendo. Carol, you have no idea what that is, but that was a Nintendo toy. So we are compliant for the 80s theme in my ZZ Top. I just wanted to make a note of that.
Hey, Carol, go back in the chat just a couple chats ago. There's Corey Roberts in there. Jeff Bogaski, I know you know Corey Roberts as well.
Very, very well. Great man.
Great name in our industry. So, by the way, Corey Roberts, congratulations, because he stepped out of, I'm sure, his comfort zone and Warcloud's comfort zone on this event, because they put together, Kara, as you know, that Jeopardy game, which is a game from the 80s, right, Michelle? But they put it into this Fixed Ops Roundtable, and we're going to run a promo, Corey, on that this week with maybe the first 30 seconds. And congratulations to you and Jim for doing that, because I think that was a really bold move, and the audience is going to love how you've put a game show into the 80s, into this event with Warcloud. So great job with that.
It was impressive. And so, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, to go back to Sean and Jeff's point about why people are not adopting it, or maybe the fear that comes along with it. There's a lot. If you look from the outside in, the generations that are working at the dealership today grew up in a time that you were so bent on only knowing one thing, right? I know service, I know sales, I know marketing. That is not the age that we're in today. The kids that are growing up today know it all, right? I mean, I started out, I just fell into a dealership and I kind of worked my way up and I learned and I started being educated. And now I only know what I know because I wanted to be in business and marketing, but I can apply it to auto because I was there. That's how I was raised too, right? Like, you know, one thing, you go be a digital marketer, you go be a technician, you go be an engineer. That the world has changed. And that's why it's scary, right? Is because the folks that are in the dealership and running it we're taught to be that one-tracked mind. And that's not how the kids are today. They're not going to think about communication via one channel anymore. They want it via multiple channels. And they're not going to be okay with the thought that it can only be one way.
Absolutely. And I'll kind of circle back to, I made a comment earlier about getting to know Mr. Bogaski's daughter. And if you wouldn't mind telling them about how powerful social media is and how you need to pay attention to it, because I do this every single day, right? And I still made a mistake the other day that if, I was trying to, lure your daughter in to do business with me for whatever product it was that I was selling, I would have missed out on a customer.
That's true. If she's watching, because she linked up with me in all these places. So she came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, who are those people in the picture with you?" I'm like, "What picture?" Because I follow on Instagram, I follow Affinitive, and you're in this picture. And I'm like, "Oh, do I follow?" I had to go make sure. But yeah. So she sent Kara a friend request or connection request, whatever. And I said, "Hey, did you two get connected to my daughter Vivian?" She didn't accept it. And it was almost a week, Dad. So I sent it back, or I pulled it back. Whatever we do, she pulled it back. But to your point, Kara, like, you need to be on that kind of thing right away, because the next generations, your generation, the ones after, they don't wait, right? Like, you need to respond and act appropriately. They grew up in a different age. When I had phone numbers on a Friday night, I had to carry them in my wallet and get out and wait to go to someone's house to make the phone call. They go on Snapchat. I call it Chap Snap or Snapchat, whatever you want to call it. And they message all the time in a different way. So the next generation certainly is different. And we have to react from the vendor side, from the dealer side, and from the ownership side as well.
And that goes to show, I mean, we have a 10-year difference between myself and your daughter, and there's a bit of a difference there in that 10 years. And I'm talking about a young generation, myself included. And even I have to learn from people like your daughter to, understand what's coming behind me to be a leader for that industry as well. So just to talk too, because I've learned a lot about Affinitive in the last few weeks. And Ted, we're getting involved more heavily with Affinitive. And why did you decide recently that some service from Affinitive would be a good idea for the Roundtable?
Well, I think it's about doing new things, and seeing what works for the roundtable, keeping it fresh and new, like our themes, keep it fresh. I think it's one of the things we do. And Affinitive, Jeff, he opened up the session today, talked about many things that they do. And one of them is a video text. Okay. And Kara, we have done a lot of texts for the event, permission-based text, with the end user, but we've never done a video before. And we're about to embark on that, and we're going to do that together. And we're going to do that, I think, next week. All right. And we have a great audience base to reach out to for all the people, the thousands and thousands, maybe tens of thousands who've come to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. So, I thought that Jeff, and his team, if they were interested, could really enhance what we're doing. And Jeff Bogaski, I'm excited that we're working with you on that.
I am too. Thank you for the opportunity as well. If I could jump back, Nicholas Gara sent a message in, and it talked about the tenure of the dealership personnel, and that certainly, I mean, we all know like there's an issue there, and I think the underlying issue is, I know we have something coming up with Northwoods, but there are not many kids are looking to go to the dealership level. They're wanting I can work from anywhere, and I can go on Amazon, and I can sell stuff and make money. And so we're going to have to find different ways to attract people in all parts of the business for that next generation. But as cars become probably more EV over the next 20, 30 years, some people are going to say no way. Some people are going to say sooner, but the ability and how a technician operates on a car is going to change as well too. It's not going to be like it used to be back in the old days. You're not going to come home greasy. Heck, I mean, we go forward 20 years, you might see technicians working from home and diagnosing cars remotely and then saying, hey, I can send this fixed via the web. So there's a lot there. I mean, this conversation can expand to so many different levels of the business.
Absolutely. And I even think when you brought that point up of doctor's offices, how many services are online nowadays that you can just video chat a random doctor and they diagnose you or whatnot, and you get a prescription in the mail. It's going to be kind of the same thing for automotive, I feel like, in the near future.
Yeah, well, you hear about it with Ed Roberts. Mobile servicing is becoming more relevant in today's times, and that's only going to continue to pick up. And then remote servicing, like where you don't even go, I think is the next phase when you think of EV cars.
Absolutely. And so what do you guys think that in the next 10 years we will see that's different than today, that maybe we're talking about, that you think will happen? Or maybe are we going to take a hard left?
Yeah, I'll share my thoughts. I think technicians are going to find a place like in certain vehicle lines to work more remotely. They're going to have cars that can bring to their house or diagnose remotely. And because that's what we're missing, a lot of people want the flexibility and the freedom. And if you can clock in and turn hours and it's 5 a.m, are you better off to do that? So I don't know what that will mean. And Sean, you probably have a hard opinion, but I certainly think that's going to be an area that we're going to see a lot of change in.
I don't know if it's in my generation or not, but your question is, do dealerships, the way they stand now, the brick and mortar, do they exist? Do you need technician base? Do the technicians actually go to the client's house and fix our workplace and fix it there, period? Is mobile service on steroids? I mean, and we all know Ed does it, 10 trucks is a master at it, but is mobile service, again, on steroids, the way of the future? Because there's no more maintenance. When electrical actually kicks off, and I do think it'll drag a little longer than we all think because the cities aren't ready, and Ted has a ton of panels on that. But I think the business, as you look at it with electrical changes, you're not changing oil, you're changing tires and brakes. Everything else is major. The only difference is batteries. The batteries change everything. And to Chad's point there, do the cars just drive themselves?
That's right.
And I think too, Sean, the customer demand is at a point where nobody wants to wait. It's on demand, right? It's when I need it. I just saw this app. So I had a pool put in my house like 2-3 years ago. And there is an app called Swimply where you can basically Uber somebody's pool. Like, I want to borrow your pool for 2 hours. Look at it, Swimply. It's a real thing. I want to borrow your pool for 2 hours on Saturday. And it's basically like Airbnb for your pool. You can rent your pool by the hour.
I hadn't heard of that one.
Check it out. I was blown away by it.
You're going to charge me too?
Yes. Yeah. Everybody pays. No, I came across it. I started thinking about, what are you going to do? You're going to have kids and you're going to have older party people, right? And then those are two groups.
And maybe baby bears in New Jersey.
Right? There's two groups I'm not interested in catering to, so I will not be on the Swimply app anytime soon.
Wow.
Michelle?
I personally think the dealership staff will continue to be the number one asset for a dealership. There's always going to need to be this personal connection, whether that's remote, via the phone, or in person. Time will tell. No, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do think to take Jeff Bogowski's thought one step further, and it's not just about remote any further, it's about XR or extended reality. How do we start to bring in, and if, just to go a little further, extended reality is augmented reality, mixed reality, or virtual reality. So that whole realm, that is what the technicians in the next 10 years have to look forward to, being able to diagnose a car without ever having to actually take it apart, know what the problem is, know how to fix it, and then taking that to the consumer and showing them, hey, here's what your part looks like, and here's what it's supposed to look like, and letting them feel it and touch it. Similar to, Audi has their active sphere where you can sit in the vehicle and actually change the dials while they're there and they're digital. That is what is going to be in the future for technicians. It's going to be efficient for the dealership, and it's going to create a customer service experience like never before.
Wow.
I love it.
Isn't it crazy to think where we're going? Even in my lifetime, I'm still impressed at how far we've come.
Likewise, as a previous service manager, I would have never thought in a million years that I wouldn't have had to tell someone to drop the engine to figure out what was going on.
And Michelle, that's out there now. That exists, that augmented
Yes.
reality. Kara, you're going to
Yes.
get and I going to get a chance to see that up front in May. So that's pretty cool. So I'm loving it. All right. This is an amazing panel. I don't want to give it all away. So if you want to hear the entire contents of what this panel will be discussing, it's going to be coming up on day one of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, back to the 80s. It's just a few minutes after 12 noon Eastern. The agenda will be out, I believe, tomorrow afternoon on fixedopsroundtable.com. You'll be able to see it there. But this is going to be in prime time, Jeff Bogowski. So great job, Jeff. I'm putting this together, and to you and your team and your daughter and Kara and everybody, and Sean Kingery for being a part of it as well.
Oh, one quick update. My daughter Vivian and Kara are now connected. So we did.
Now.
We all feel better about that too, by the way.
I can just add, Sean, thanks for taking time out of your evening. And to Ted and Kara, I've been watching these for about 8 months now. And I enjoy the forum and appreciate you all, because we take our time out, but you guys fly around and you take a lot of evenings out of your days to do this. And I see someone like Cindy Reynolds, who I see on often, but all these people, and some of us are competitors, but guess what? We're in this forum where no one really cares. We're just sharing information and ideas. And it's a great forum, and no one feels threatened whatsoever. So thanks for doing all this.
All right. Well, Jeff, before we go, I think Kara's got some trivia from the 80s for us to some challenges for us this evening.
I do. So we're taking a switch back again, away from the 80s pictures, and we're going to do a little bit of trivia tonight. So I think I have 4 questions tonight. So hopefully you guys are familiar with some of these things. And here is the first one. If you're watching us live tonight, as always, comment down below if you know the answer so we can help our guests out tonight. Need You Tonight was released by which rock band? Anybody know?
I have to say, I don't know this one.
I can say I don't know this one either.
What? Sean?
I know. I'm bad. That one I don't know.
Tony
I
says
really
no.
know.
Tony says A.
It is C.
Yeah.
In excess.
Yep. Tony, you were wrong too. I thought you would know this one.
I put C in the chat, so I actually had that one right.
All right.
You didn't want to say it out loud, huh?
You just never know. I thought I had one right a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about them. So I was a little paranoid.
These are hard tonight, Kara.
In excess.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
All right,
That's a
let's
tough one.
see if they get any easier. What year was The Breakfast Club released?
I'm going to say 82 or
85.
82.
85.
I was going to say
82.
85. I was going to say B85.
85.
It is 85. That
It's
one's
85.
85.
Y'all got that one right. The
Get this old, you
comment-
forget.
Tony got this one right. All right, let's see this one. Who sings the song "Should I Stay or Should I Go"?
C.
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 It is C. Y'all got that one right too.
Now, is Ted going to sing that song for us as we end the night tonight?
He sure is. How'd you know?
I don't even know that song.
Oh, come on.
Well, come on, Ted. That's stuck in my
Come
head.
on,
I don't
Ted.
even know that one. No,
All right, last one here.
I'm drawing a blank on all these.
Queen's first song in 1980 was also their first #1 hit in the United States. Which song was it?
B.
B.
I have no
Man,
My gut tells me B.
everybody's saying B. Y'all are right. It's B. Hey, that was pretty good.
Did you know any of those before you looked them up?
Actually, I am a huge 80s music fan. I guess my parents just raised me on that or something. I don't know.
I think they raised you right. Kara.
They did.
Right.
I'm a huge 80s fan as
I've got
well.
a little
80s rock
inside track.
especially.
I've had to ask Kara on like a number of things for this show, like what is Motley Crue? What, because I don't have any idea on any of these things.
Oh,
So-
really?
So,
Yep.
yeah.
What were you? Were you a country guy or?
I missed all this. I don't know. I don't remember this.
He was working. He was grinding.
I was
That's
working,
good
I
for you,
think.
Ted.
Yeah,
Right.
I was
He was in
Good for
an
you,
office
Ted.
in the 80s.
Back at
6
retail.
days a week at the
That's right.
dealership.
You
Right.
tell him, Ted.
Half a day, Jeff, 9 to 9. So
Yeah. The good old days.
Those are always fun. But thank you guys so much for being with us tonight and playing along with trivia. And like Ted was saying, everyone watching tonight, you do not want to miss this panel on the first day of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And what time is it at, Ted?
it is on day number 1. It's a 4-day event, Kara. We're trying to keep it at 4 days. It's trying to burst into a 5th, but we're going to see what happens tomorrow. It's on May 15th, Monday, just after 12 noon Eastern time. You do not want to miss this panel. Get your tickets at fixedopsroundtable.com. You'll get all the updates there. You'll get the link for the event and a lot of previews of coming attractions with the agenda coming out in less than 24 hours. So there we go.
We're excited for it. So don't miss the Affinitive panel with all of these lovely people on the screen. Mr. Bogaski, thank you. Other Jeff, thank you. Michelle, and of course, Sean and Ted. Thank you for being on with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. We will see you on Wednesday at 8 p.m.